The rain in Northern Virginia in November does not wash things clean. It merely turns the world into a smear of gray and brown. It was the kind of cold that seeped through the wool of coats and settled in the marrow of the bone, a damp, pervasive chill that Natalia Petrova had never quite gotten used to, even after 3 years in the United States. She drove her 1974 Ford Maverick with a careful, almost rigid posture, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, her eyes scanning the road not just for traffic, but for the unexpected. Old habits, she often told herself, were the hardest things to leave behind. In Leningrad, where she had been born and raised, scanning one's surroundings was not paranoia. It was a prerequisite for survival. Here, in the sprawling, leafy suburbs of Falls Church, it was considered an eccentricity. But Natalia knew that geography did not change the fundamental nature of the world. Power was always watching. The only difference was the name of the agency doing the looking. It was 4:15 p.m., and the daylight was already failing, surrendering to the premature gloom of late autumn. Natalia was returning from the community college where she taught intermediate Russian to a classroom of 12 students. Most were heritage speakers, children of earlier waves of immigrants trying to reclaim a language their parents had abandoned. A few were government employees, men in nondescript suits who took copious notes and asked questions about idioms and slang rather than literature. She knew who they were, or at least who they wanted to work for. In 1981, with Reagan in the White House and the rhetoric between Washington and Moscow heating up, Russian was a strategic asset. She turned onto Route 7, the wipers slapping a rhythmic, hypnotic beat against the glass. The traffic was light. As she rounded a curve near a wooded stretch that separated two housing developments, she saw it. A sedan, an American make, pulled over onto the soft shoulder, its hood propped open like a broken jaw. A man stood beside it, his collar turned up against the driving rain, looking helplessly at the steam rising from the engine block. Natalia's foot hovered over the brake, then hesitated. The Soviet instinct, the one drilled into her by decades of communal apartment living and whispered warnings, screamed at her to keep driving. Do not get involved. Do not draw attention. A stranger is a danger you have not yet identified. But there was another voice, a newer one she was trying to cultivate. The voice of the American she was trying to become. Americans were helpful. Americans stopped for stranded motorists. Americans believed in the kindness of strangers because they had the luxury of assuming the world was generally benevolent. If she wanted to be one of them, she had to act like one. She pressed the brake. The Maverick slowed, tires crunching onto the gravel shoulder. She pulled up 20 feet behind the stranded car, keeping the engine running. She watched the man in her rearview mirror for a moment. He looked harmless enough, middle-aged, perhaps 40, wearing a trench coat that was rapidly soaking through, glasses fogged by the humidity. He didn't look like the police. He didn't look like the KGB. He looked like a math teacher having a very bad Tuesday. Natalia rolled down the passenger window as he approached. He bent down, water dripping from the brim of his hat. "I am so sorry to bother you, ma'am," he said. His voice was polite, with a flat Midwestern cadence. "My radiator seems to have given up the ghost. I was wondering if you might know where the nearest service station is. I'm afraid I'm not from this area." Natalia looked at him. His face was open, flushed with the cold. There was no guile in his eyes, only frustration and a bit of embarrassment. "The nearest station is 3 miles back the way I came," Natalia said. Her accent was still thick, the hard consonants clipping the edges of her English words. She saw his eyes flicker for a fraction of a second, registering the accent. But his smile didn't waver. 3 miles, he sighed, looking back at his car. "Well, I guess I better start walking. I can't leave it here blocking the view." "It is raining very hard," Natalia said. She made a decision. It was an impulsive decision, the kind her father in Leningrad would have called foolish. "I am going that direction. I can take you to the station." The man's face lit up with genuine relief. "Are you sure? I don't want to impose. It's really coming down out here." "Get in," she said, unlocking the door, "before you catch pneumonia. In my country, we say a cold man is a foolish man if he refuses a fire." He laughed, a warm, easy sound, and climbed into the passenger seat. He smelled of rain and wet wool and faint tobacco. "I'm Arthur," he said, extending a hand. "Arthur Miller, no relation to the playwright, unfortunately." "Natalia?" she said, shaking his hand briefly. She put the car in gear and pulled back onto the road. As the wipers slashed back and forth, she felt a strange cocktail of pride and anxiety. She was doing a normal thing. She was helping a neighbor. But deep in her stomach, the knot of tension remained tight. She was alone in a car with a man she didn't know, in a country where she was technically free, but felt perpetually on probation. The drive to the service station took 10 minutes. In that time, Arthur proved to be an affable conversationalist. He didn't ask the usual prying questions people asked when they heard her voice. "Where are you from? How did you get out? Is it true what they say about the bread lines?" Instead, he talked about the weather, about the unreliability of American cars compared to German ones, and about his job. "I sell insurance," he said, wiping his glasses with a handkerchief. "Commercial liability. It's about as exciting as watching paint dry, but it pays the mortgage. I was out here looking at a warehouse property near Tyson's Corner. It is good to have steady work," Natalia said. "Security is important." "That it is," Arthur agreed. He looked at her sideways. "You teach, don't you? I can tell by the way you drive. Very methodical, patient." Natalia tightened her grip on the wheel. "I teach language. Russian." "Russian?" Arthur nodded, as if she had said French or algebra. "That's a tough one. Different alphabet, different logic. I tried to learn Spanish in high school and barely passed. My brain doesn't work that way." When they arrived at the service station, the lights were on, but the garage bays were dark. A handwritten sign in the window read, "Closed for family emergency." Arthur swore softly. "Just my luck. Tuesday afternoon and they're closed." Natalia looked at the rain, which was falling harder now, turning the parking lot into a shallow lake. "There is another station," she said, though she wasn't sure. "But it is further, in Falls Church Center." Arthur looked at his watch. "I hate to ask, Natalia, but would you mind? I can pay for the gas. I really just need to get to a payphone that works and call a tow truck. The one here?" He gestured to the outdoor phone booth, the receiver hanging by its cord, the wire severed. "It is fine," she said. "It is on my way home." This was a lie. Her apartment was in the opposite direction. But something about Arthur, his helplessness, his polite demeanor, disarmed her. Or perhaps she was simply lonely. Since her husband, Alexei, had died of a heart attack 6 months after their arrival in the States, her world had shrunk to her classroom and her empty apartment. "You are very kind," Arthur said. By the time they reached Falls Church, the storm had knocked out power to 2 traffic lights. The service station there was open, but the mechanic was out on a call. Arthur used the payphone inside the office while Natalia waited in the car. She watched him through the glass. He spoke animatedly, gesturing with his hands, then hung up and came back out, looking dejected. 2 hours, he said, leaning into her window. "Tow truck is 2 hours out, and there are no taxis running because of the flooding on the lower roads." Natalia looked at the time. 5:30 p.m. It was pitch black. "You cannot stand here in the rain for 2 hours, she said. It was the Russian hospitality again, overriding the American caution. "My apartment is 5 minutes from here. I have tea. You can wait there. Call the truck company to come to my address instead." Arthur hesitated. "Natalia, I couldn't. You've already done so much. I'm a stranger." "You are Arthur Miller, insurance salesman," she said, a small, rare smile touching her lips. "And I am Natalia, teacher. We are not strangers anymore. Come, I have tea and I have biscuits. It is better than standing in a gas station." He looked at her, searching her face. "Okay," he said softly. "Thank you. I really appreciate it." Her apartment was on the second floor of a brick garden-style complex. It was modest, clean, and filled with the heavy, dark furniture she had bought at estate sales because it reminded her of Leningrad. There were books everywhere, Pushkin, Tolstoy, Chekhov, and a small icon in the corner that belonged to her grandmother. She made tea in a ceramic pot, strong and black, and served it with store-bought cookies. Arthur sat on her sofa, looking slightly too large for the room. He seemed to observe everything, his eyes moving from the books to the icon, to the photograph of Alexei on the mantel. "Your husband?" he asked gently. "Yes, Alexei. He passed away 2 years ago." "I'm sorry," Arthur said. "He looks like a serious man." "He was an engineer," Natalia said. "He took everything seriously. Bridges, dinner, politics. He believed that if you did not build things correctly, they would fall down. A good philosophy," Arthur said. He took a sip of tea. "Is that why you came here? For him?" The question was casual, but the air in the room shifted slightly. Natalia felt it. A sudden density, a change in pressure. "We came for many reasons," she said, reciting the rehearsed answer she gave to everyone. "For opportunity, for freedom to travel. Alexei wanted to see the Golden Gate Bridge." "Did he see it?" "No," she said, looking down at her cup. "We never made it to California. His heart stopped before we could save enough money for the trip." Arthur set his cup down. "That's a tragedy, to come all this way and stop short." He looked at her. "You must miss home, though, the culture, the people. It's a hard thing to cut off completely." "I miss the people," Natalia said carefully. "I do not miss the lines. I do not miss the silence." "The silence. The silence of things you cannot say," she said. She looked him in the eye. "In Russia, we have a saying. The walls have ears, and the teapot has a microphone. Here the silence is just silence. It is lonely, but it is safe." Arthur nodded slowly. "Safe," he repeated. "That's a powerful word. We all want to be safe, Natalia. But sometimes I wonder if anyone really is." The comment hung in the air, ambiguous and heavy. Natalia felt a sudden urge to ask him to leave, tow truck or no tow truck. But just then the phone rang. It was the towing company, calling to confirm the address Arthur had given them from the station. Arthur left 40 minutes later when the truck arrived. He thanked her profusely, shaking her hand at the door with a firm, warm grip. "You saved my day, Natalia," he said. "If you ever need insurance or just someone to move a heavy box, you have my number." He had written it on a scrap of paper by the phone. When he was gone, the apartment felt quieter than usual. Natalia washed the teacups, drying them methodically. She replayed the conversation in her head. It had been normal, pleasant, and yet there was an aftertaste she couldn't identify. He had been too observant. He had noticed the icon in the corner, which was small and hidden in shadow. He had asked about Alexei with a specificity that felt pointed. She walked into the living room to fluff the pillows on the sofa where he had sat. As she lifted the cushion, something slid to the floor. It was a small, spiral-bound notebook. Black cover, cheap paper. It must have fallen out of his trench coat pocket. Natalia picked it up. Her first instinct was to run to the window, to see if the tow truck was still there. But she knew it was gone. She held the notebook in her hand. It was an ethical dilemma. It was private property, but he was a stranger, and her survival instincts were flaring. She opened the cover. The first few pages were mundane. Lists of numbers, addresses, notes about coverage limits and deductibles. It supported his story, insurance. She felt a wave of relief. She was being paranoid. He was just a man. She flipped further. The handwriting changed, became more hurried. There were dates. Novi 2, subject arrived Euro 800, carried brown briefcase. Nov 4, contact made at bakery, 3 mins. No exchange observed. Nov 7, refuel, 14 gallons, paid cash. Natalia's heart hammered against her ribs. This wasn't insurance. This was surveillance. She turned another page. Subject, N. Petrova, 1117, pickup at Route 7. Vehicle, Ford Maverick. Subject appears cooperative. No counter-surveillance detected. The book fell from her hands as if it were burning. She backed away from it, staring at the black rectangle on her carpet. 1117. That was today. Pickup at Route 7. That was the breakdown. It hadn't been an accident. The steam, the raised hood, the stranded motorist. It was theater. A play performed for an audience of one. He hadn't been looking for a service station. He had been looking for her. Natalia rushed to the window, peering through the blinds. The street was empty, slick with rain. But now, the shadows looked different. The parked van down the block. Was it empty? The street lamp flickering. Was it a signal? She was not safe. The silence she had cherished was not the silence of freedom. It was the silence of a breath held before the scream. Sleep was impossible. Natalia spent the night sitting in a chair in her hallway, away from the windows, clutching a kitchen knife she knew she would never use. Her mind raced through the possibilities. Who was Arthur Miller? If he was KGB, why the elaborate ruse? The KGB didn't play games with broken cars on Route 7. If they wanted her, they would have taken her. They would have come in the night or intercepted her on her way to work. They would have used leverage, threats against her family back in Leningrad. This felt softer, more psychological. If he was FBI, why target her? She was a language teacher. She had defected legally, gone through the debriefings, answered every question the men in the gray suits had asked 3 years ago. She was a nobody, unless they thought she wasn't. By morning, the rain had stopped, replaced by a biting wind that stripped the last leaves from the oaks. Natalia had to go to work. Routine was the best camouflage. If she panicked, if she ran, she confirmed whatever suspicion they had. She dressed carefully. Wool skirt, sensible blouse. She put the notebook in her purse. She couldn't leave it in the apartment. What if they came back to retrieve it? What if they broke in? Driving to the college, she checked her mirrors constantly. Every car that stayed behind her for more than 2 turns became a threat. She took a circuitous route, doubling back through a residential neighborhood, waiting at a green light until it turned yellow to see if the car behind her would run it. It didn't. At the college, the fluorescent lights of the hallway felt exposing. She walked into the faculty lounge to get coffee. Rough night, Natalia? It was Greg, the history professor. He was a nice man, perpetually covered in chalk dust. "Insomnia," she said, forcing a smile. "The storm kept me awake." "Yeah, it was a loud one," Greg said. "Hey, did you hear? We're getting a guest lecturer next week, some bigwig from the State Department, talking about the grain embargo." Natalia nodded, barely listening. She needed to know who Arthur Miller was, but how? She couldn't go to the police. If he was intelligence, the police couldn't help. If she went to the FBI and he was FBI, she was walking into the lion's den. She sat at her desk in the empty classroom before her students arrived. She took out the notebook. She needed to look closer. The entry about her was the last one. But who were the others? Subject, VK subject, the grocer, VK Vitaly Kozlov. Vitaly was a student in her evening class. A quiet boy, maybe 22. He worked at a bakery in Arlington. He was a defector too, arrived only 6 months ago. He was struggling with English, struggling with the culture. Natalia had stayed late a few times to help him with verbs. She looked at the date again. Nov 4, contact made at bakery. Arthur Miller, or whoever he was watching Vitaly. And by extension, he was watching her because she was close to Vitaly. The realization brought a strange kind of relief. It wasn't about her. Not really. She was just a vector, a connection. But that relief was short-lived. If they were watching Vitaly, what had the boy done? And if they thought she was involved, what would they do to her? Natalia's evening class began at 6 p.m. Vitaly Kozlov was there, sitting in the second row. He looked tired. He was a thin young man with pale skin and dark circles under his eyes. The look of someone who was not eating enough. Throughout the lesson, Natalia found herself watching him. Was he a spy? A sleeper agent? It seemed impossible. He couldn't even master the future tense of to go. He wore the same sweater 3 days in a row. He looked like a frightened child, not a threat to national security. But appearances, as Arthur Miller had proven, were meaningless. After class, the students filed out. Vitaly lingered, packing his bag slowly. "Mrs. Petrova," he said, his voice quiet. "I have question about homework." "Yes, Vitaly?" She tried to keep her voice steady. He walked up to her desk. He looked around the empty room, then leaned in. "Not homework," he whispered. "I have problem. Big problem." Natalia felt a chill slide down her spine. "What kind of problem?" "Man came to bakery today," Vitaly said. His English was broken, frantic. "American man, suit. He show me badge. He asked questions about back home. About my father." "Who was the man?" Natalia asked. "He say name is Agent Davis, FBI." "What did he want to know about your father?" "My father. He work in Severodvinsk, shipyard, submarines." Vitali's eyes were wide, terrified. I tell them when I come to America I know nothing. I am Baker. But this man, he say I lie. He say if I not help them, they send me back. Send him back, the ultimate threat. For a defector, return meant the gulag or the firing squad. Did he leave a card? Natalia asked. Vitali reached into his pocket and pulled out a white business card. He handed it to her. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Agent Paul Davis. There was no photo, but there was a phone number. Natalia looked at the number. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out the scrap of paper Arthur Miller had left by her phone. She compared them. The numbers were different, but the area code and the exchange, the first 3 digits, were the same. A government exchange. Vitali, Natalia said, gripping his arm. Did this man have glasses? Did he wear a beige trench coat? Vitali shook his head. No, blue suit, no glasses, dark hair. 2 men, a team. Arthur Miller was watching her. Agent Davis was squeezing Vitali. They were closing a net, and Natalia and Vitali were the fish. Go home, Vitali, she said. Do not speak to anyone. If he comes back, tell him you want a lawyer. You have rights here. Rights? Vitali gave a bitter laugh. Mrs. Petrova, we are Russians. We have no rights anywhere. We are just useful or not useful. 2 days passed. Natalia did not return the notebook. She kept it hidden in a hollowed-out copy of War and Peace on her bookshelf. She waited. On Friday, she was grocery shopping at the Safeway. She was in the produce aisle, inspecting a pyramid of apples, when she felt a presence beside her. Red Delicious, a voice said. They look nice, but they're mealy. I prefer the Granny Smiths, more crunch. Natalia froze. She turned slowly. Arthur Miller was standing there. He was wearing a different coat, a navy pea coat, and he wasn't wearing glasses. But the smile was the same, the easy Midwestern charm. Hello, Natalia, he said. Arthur, she said. She didn't smile. Your car is fixed? Good as new, he said. He picked up a green apple and tossed it slightly in the air. Listen, I wanted to thank you again for the tea, and I think I might have left something at your place. A small notebook. Natalia's heart hammered. She had practiced this moment. A notebook? She asked, frowning. I did not see a notebook. I vacuumed yesterday. I saw nothing. Arthur stopped tossing the apple. His eyes, which had been warm, suddenly went very still. The temperature in the aisle seemed to drop. Natalia, he said. His voice was different now. The insurance salesman cadence was gone, replaced by something sharper, more authoritative. Don't play games. It's a black spiral notebook. It has sensitive information in it. I do not have it, she insisted, gripping her shopping cart. Maybe you left it in the tow truck. Arthur stepped closer. He invaded her personal space, blocking her exit from the aisle. I didn't leave it in the truck. I had it when I sat on your sofa. Look, I don't want to make this difficult. I'm not who I said I was. You figured that out, didn't you? I don't talk to strangers, Natalia said, turning her cart to leave. Arthur put a hand on the cart. I'm with the FBI, Natalia. I'm Special Agent Miller, and you are in possession of classified government property. That's a federal crime. Now we can do this the easy way. You give me the book, we talk about Vitali Kozlov, and you go back to your quiet life. Or we do this the hard way. Natalia looked at him. The facade was completely gone. This was the face of the state, the face of power. You lied to me, she said. You used my kindness. I used a cover, he corrected. That's the job. Now, the book. It is in my car, she lied. I found it this morning. I was going to call the number inside. Good, Miller said. Let's go to your car. They walked to the parking lot in silence. Natalia unlocked her car. It is under the seat, she said. She wasn't reaching for the book. She didn't have it. It was still in War and Peace at home. She was stalling. Her mind was racing. Could she scream? Could she run? No. He was FBI. If she ran, she was a fugitive. She sat in the driver's seat. Miller sat in the passenger seat, the same seat he had occupied 3 days ago as a stranded motorist. The symmetry was cruel. Where is it? He asked. It is not here, she admitted quietly. It is at my apartment. Miller sighed. He rubbed his face. "Natalia, why are you making this hard?" "Because you are threatening a boy," she said, turning to him, her anger finally overriding her fear. "Vitaly, he is a child, he bakes bread, and you and your partner, Davis, you are terrifying him." "Why?" Miller looked at her. He seemed to evaluate her for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket pocket. Natalia flinched. He pulled out a pack of cigarettes. "Do you mind?" She shook her head. He lit one, cracked the window. The smoke filled the small car. "Vitaly isn't just a baker," Miller said. "His father is the chief engineer at the Severodvinsk shipyards. He has access to the blueprints for the new Typhoon-class submarine, the silent ones, the ones that can park off the coast of New York and we wouldn't know until the mushrooms started blooming." Natalia stared at him. "Vitaly ran away. He hates his father." "Does he?" Miller asked. "Or is that what he told you?" "We have intel that Vitaly is in contact with the embassy. We think he's being used as a conduit. His father passes info to him, he passes it to us, or he feeds us disinformation. We don't know which side he's playing. That's why we're watching him. And that's why we were watching you." "Me?" "You're his teacher, his confidant. We thought maybe you were the handler." "I am a teacher," Natalia cried. "I teach verbs." "We know," Miller said. He took a drag of the cigarette. "We know now. My assessment, the one you read in the book, was that you're clean. Subject appears cooperative, no counter-surveillance. You stopped to help a stranger in the rain. A trained KGB agent wouldn't have done that. It's too risky. You're just a nice person, Natalia, which is rare in this business. So leave me alone," she said. "I can't," Miller said, "because Vitaly trusts you. He doesn't trust us. He's terrified of Davis, but he talks to you. You want me to spy on him." "I want you to listen," Miller said. "I don't want you to break into his house. I just want you to tell me if he mentions packages, or meetings, or his father. And if I refuse?" Miller flicked the ash out the window. "Then we have to bring Vitaly in, hard. We detain him. We deport him back to the USSR as a security risk. And you know what happens to him there." Natalia felt sick. It was blackmail, moral blackmail. "You are no different than them," she whispered. "The KGB. You use people." "We are different," Miller said, his voice hard. "We don't put bullets in the back of people's heads in basements. But yes, we use people. That's the Cold War, Natalia. Everybody is a weapon or a target. You have to decide which one you want to be." The next week was a blur of anxiety. Natalia returned the notebook to Miller. He came to her apartment to get it, and in exchange, he gave her a number to a secure line. "Just listen," he had said. She went to class. Vitaly was there, looking even more haggard. He stayed after class again. "Mrs. Petrova," he said, "I need help. I have letter for my father." Natalia's stomach turned. "A letter?" "Yes. I cannot mail it. The FBI, they watch mail. But I have friend at embassy who can put in diplomatic bag. But I cannot go to embassy. They watch me. What do you want me to do?" Natalia asked, though she already knew. "Can you meet him?" "My friend. Just give letter. Please. It is just telling my father I am safe. Telling him I am sorry." It was a classic dead drop. A handoff. If she did this, she was participating in espionage. Or she was helping a son say goodbye to his father. "Vitaly," she said, "if I do this, you promise me it is just a letter?" "I promise." On my mother's grave. Natalia took the letter. It was a thick envelope, sealed with tape. It felt heavier than paper. That night, she sat by her phone. She looked at the number Miller had given her. She looked at the letter. If she called Miller, she was betraying Vitaly. If she delivered the letter, she might be betraying the country that had given her refuge. She thought about Alexei, about his belief in building things correctly so they didn't fall down. Foundations mattered. Truth was a foundation. She picked up the phone. The setup was arranged for Saturday. Miller, the real Miller, not the insurance salesman, briefed her in a van parked 3 blocks from the meeting spot. "You walk to the bench in Potomac Park," he said. "Sit down. Place the envelope on your left side. Read a newspaper. A man will sit down. He will pick up the envelope. You stand up and walk away. Do not speak to him." "And Vitaly?" Natalia asked. "Vitaly is being picked up right now," Miller said. "We'll keep him safe. If the envelope contains what we think it does, microfilm of the sub-schematics, then he's valuable. If it's just a letter, well, then we apologized." Natalia nodded. She felt numb. She was wearing a wire, a clunky device taped to her lower back. It rubbed against her skin. She walked to the park. It was a cold, bright day. Families were walking dogs. Children were playing on the swings. It seemed perverse that espionage happened in the middle of life. She sat on the bench. She put the envelope down. She opened her newspaper. Her hands were shaking so badly the paper rustled loudly. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Then a man approached. He was tall, wearing a gray coat. He looked Russian. He had the walk, that heavy, purposeful stride. He sat down next to her. Natalia held her breath. The man didn't reach for the envelope. He turned to her. "Natalia Petrova," he said in Russian. She froze. This wasn't the script. "You are a traitor," he said calmly. "You think we do not know?" "Vitaly told us." Natalia turned to look at him. "What?" "Vitaly works for us," the man said. "He always has. The terrified boy act. It works well on motherly types. He told us the FBI turned you. He told us you would bring the package." "I don't understand," she stammered. "The package," the man said, nodding at the envelope. "It is not plans. It is marked bills. The FBI hopes to catch me taking payment, but I am not taking it. And now they know that we know." The man stood up. He smiled, a cold, shark-like smile. "Enjoy your life in America, Natalia. Watch your back." He walked away. Natalia sat there, the envelope beside her. Suddenly, agents swarmed from the bushes. Miller was running toward her. "Did he take it? Did he take it?" "No," Natalia whispered. He knew. The debriefing room at the FBI field office was windowless and smelled of stale coffee. Miller was pacing. Another agent, Davis, was sitting across from Natalia, looking furious. "He played us," Davis spat. "The kid played us. He fed us the scared defector line, got us to focus on you, and while we were setting up this sting, he was probably moving the real intel through a different channel." Natalia sat with her hands folded. She felt hollowed out. Vitaly, the boy with the bad verbs, the boy she had pitied. He had been laughing at her. "Where is Vitaly now?" she asked. "Gone," Miller said, stopping his pacing. "His apartment is empty. He slipped our surveillance 2 hours ago, probably in a diplomatic car heading for the airport or the border." Miller looked at Natalia. He looked tired, old. The charm of the roadside encounter was a distant memory. "I'm sorry, Natalia," he said. "We used you as bait," and he saw the hook. He said something, Natalia said, before he left. He said, "Watch your back." Miller frowned. "A threat?" "No," Natalia said, thinking. He said it casually, like a fact. She stood up. "I want to go home. We should put you in protective custody for a few days," Miller said. "Until we know he's out of the country." "No," she said. "I am done with you. I am done with him. I want to go to my apartment. I want to grade my papers." Miller hesitated, then nodded. "I'll have a car take you. And we'll keep a unit outside your building." Natalia returned to her apartment. It looked the same, but it felt violated. The invisible threads of the game had been strung across her living room, and she had tripped over all of them. She went to the bookshelf. She pulled out the hollowed-out War and Peace. It was empty, of course. She had given the notebook back, but there was something else. Tucked behind the books on the shelf was a small folded piece of paper. It hadn't been there before. Vitaly had been in her apartment. When? Maybe during the day while she was at the park. She unfolded it. It was a note, written in Russian cursive. "Dear teacher, I did not lie about everything. I hate the fish soup my father makes. And I did struggle with the verbs. But I have a job to do, just as you have yours. You chose to be American. I chose to be loyal. The man in the park was not KGB. He was just a distraction. I am already gone. P.S. Your car needs oil. Natalia stared at the note. She laughed. A dry, humorless sound. He had been in her home. He had probably watched her sleep. The terrified boy had been a wolf in sheep's clothing, and she had tried to knit him a sweater. She walked to the window. Down on the street, a nondescript sedan was parked. The FBI unit, watching her, protecting her, owning her. 6 months later, May 1982, the spring had finally come to Virginia. The dogwoods were blooming, exploding in white and pink clouds along the streets. Natalia walked out of the grocery store. She had a bag of apples, Granny Smith's. She walked to her car, the same Ford Maverick. It started with a cough, but it started. As she pulled out of the lot, she saw a man walking on the sidewalk. He wore a beige trench coat. She slowed down. It wasn't Miller, just a man. She hadn't seen Miller since that day in the office. She heard from the news that a Soviet diplomat had been expelled for espionage, but no names were mentioned. Vitaly Kozlov had simply ceased to exist in the American record. Natalia drove onto Route 7. She passed the spot where she had stopped that rainy November afternoon. The gravel shoulder was overgrown with weeds. She thought about the choice she had made. To stop. To help. It had cost her innocence. It had stripped away the illusion that she could live outside the struggle. The Cold War was not a wall in Berlin. It was a fog that covered everything, entering through cracks in windows and kindnesses on roadsides. But she was still here. She was driving her car. She was teaching her students. She turned on the radio. A pop song was playing. She hummed along, her accent softening the words. She checked the rearview mirror. The road behind her was empty. For now. Conclusion. And that is the story of how a simple act of kindness on a rainy highway pulled a teacher into the center of an FBI counterintelligence operation. It reminds us that in the 1980s, trust was the most dangerous currency of all. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden files of the Cold War. Let me know in the comments, would you have stopped for the stranger on Route 7? Until next time, keep your eyes open.